Alright, we're here, the final part of the War for Cybertron Trilogy. We've done Siege, we've done Earthrise, now let's talk about Kingdom. I think things are going to be slightly different with this video because I felt the formula, I guess you could call it, got a little bit stale between Siege to Earthrise. So I'm not going to copy paste what I did there. Instead, what I'm going to try and do is do something different, hopefully not too different, hopefully it works out alright. But I'm just going to try a different way of talking about this line as a whole, considering there was a lot of things with this line that changed between Earthrise and here, and it'll be interesting to actually go into detail and talk about them. But without much further delay, let's get straight into what has changed. Alright, talking changes, there's only two big changes from Earthrise to Kingdom that I really want to address, and one of them's fairly straightforward. Fossilizers. That's right, so moving on from weaponizers to modulators, we are now moving on to fossilizers, which is exactly what it sounds like, fossilized dinosaurs, which break apart and form weapons, yada yada. It's all the same sort of stuff as before, it's just a different take on it. But fuck me, these guys are cool. I love the idea of having dinosaur bones as weapons and as armor. It's a cool idea and it's fun, and I'm glad to see this was the evolution they went for. The second change is slightly more dynamic. So I think this was because of poor sales, I can't remember. Hopefully I've got something on screen this time to show this. Micromasters and Battlemasters apparently did not sell all that well in the grand scheme of things. So Hasbro backtracked. Hasbro asked, well, what works? Hasbro remembered that they used to do a line of Legends figures, small scale figures. So Hasbro returned to that. Now granted, this isn't like the Legends figures before, where you'd get the mini bots in that scale, but you'd also get some of the bigger bots. Because outside of three releases, all of these core class releases have been main characters, just done smaller. But yeah, this was a change that I was both intrigued and let down by as someone who enjoyed the Micromasters and the Battlemasters. But outside of that, that was the two big changes. There wasn't really anything to really go into this time. There's one big difference between this and what came before, but I'm going to do the wave by wave breakdown just to get that out of the way. Wave 1 core class, Optimus Prime, Rat Trap, Vertebrake. Wave 1 deluxe class, Cheetor, Black Arachnia, Warpath, and Paleotrex. Wave 1 Voyager class, Optimus Primal and Cyclonus. Wave 1 leader class, Beast Wars Megatron and Optimus Prime. Wave 2 core class, Starscream and Megatron. Deluxe class, Airraiser, Ractonite, Huffer and RC. Voyager class, Dinobot and Inferno. Leader class, Ultra Magnus. Wave 3 core class, Soundwave and Dracodon, or Dracodon, however you want to pronounce it. Wave 3 deluxe class, Scorponok, not that one. Wheeljack, Wingfinger and Trax. Wave 3 Voyager, Rhinox, and the last of the leader class, Galvatron. Wave 4 core class, Hot Rod. Deluxe class, Shadow Panther and Waspinator. Voyager class, Tigatron. Wave 5, the fifth and final wave of Kingdom. Deluxe class, Autobot Pipes and Slammer. Voyager class, Blaster with Eject. In Commander class, you had Rodimus Prime, and in the Titan class, you had the debut of a brand new character, the Autobot Arc, with Teletran 1 / Mainframe. Alright, let's get to the first thing I really want to talk about. This is why I want to get the wave by wave out of the way now. We have Beast Wars. Fucking Beast Wars in Generations. Man, I'm all over this shit. We got Maximals and Predacons, and we've got most of the Season 1 cast. You know, it's great to finally have Beast Wars characters given the same treatment that the other characters have been given throughout this trilogy, especially coinciding with the 25th anniversary of the original Beast Wars cartoon. I know in the past two videos I've mentioned the concept of Mini Masterpiece, but this is where they really crushed that concept. So you look at Primal, you look at Dinobot, and I think if you look at Megatron as well, you really see the Masterpiece leanings shining through. Hell, I'd even make the case for Tigatron, generally speaking, possibly Black Arachnia. The quality of these beast modes is just fantastic. I love it. It's such a refreshing break to see something like this, but handled in this way. I feel like this could get a bit divisive. You know, I know a lot of people prefer G1, but it's nice to acknowledge other parts of the franchise. I'm all about Beast Wars characters having this being included. Like, I love seeing them get the War for Cybertron treatment. Really, that's all there is to say about the Beast characters. They're just a delight to have. Yeah, they've got their shortcomings, as every Beast former does. Granted, They have improved a hell of a lot from the last versions these guys received, which was, this is where it gets dicey. Cheetor Dinobot, and I think maybe that was it actually, got updates in 2008 with Universe. But then we got Rhinox, Rat Trap, and Waspinator in Thrilling 30. And those three were okay. But I know the Universe ones just did not do the job. Plus we got Optimus Primal as Optimal Optimus in Power of the Primes. I'm going to talk about that line one day, I don't know when. But let's talk about the rest of the roster, because outside of these guys who are basically special guest stars in this line that refused to leave the first time, let's talk about the rest of what we got. For Autobots, we got Slammer, who is the last of the Titan companion bots given a modern form. We had Pipes, we had Trax, Huffer, Inferno, Blaster, and Rodimus Prime. And then we had, for the Decepticons, Galvatron and Cyclonus. Yeah, there's the core class stuff, but I don't have it, so I'm not going to talk about it. But they do exist. People like them. Good for them, like what you like. But also in Titan class we had the debut of a new character, the Ark, who came with Mainframe, who I think was an Action Master? I could be wrong. Obviously Mainframe doesn't look like the original toy. Mainframe looks like Teletran 1 because that's what Mainframe transforms into in what has to probably be one of the best inclusions in a Titan class set. It's not a head, he's not a micromaster, he's not whatever the fuck that one with Tripticon was. He's a core part of it, but he's also an actual core play feature. Like, the Ark is not my favourite Titan class, but he's so big and dumb and I just love him. It just looks great, and it's nice to have the Ark. Like, I'm surprised we haven't had a Nemesis to go with him yet, but we also had Ultra Magnus given his Earth mode. Like I said, we had Rodimus Prime, and in the Decepticons we had Galvatron. Now these three are all big parts of the 86 movie, which I'm not going to go into too much detail about, because while this was also the 35th anniversary of that, there was a separate line to cover that. Let's talk about the reissues. So we have Optimus, we have Wheeljack, we had RC, and there was actually a cancelled listing of a reissue of Starscream. Yeah, not even any of the other ones that were actually hard to get, just Starscream. But that one was effectively nixed by Studio Series 86, which fuck it, let's briefly touch on Studio. Okay, so this isn't going to be a particularly lengthy segment. It's not a full-on talk about Studio Series 86, but I figured talking about Studio Series 86 is relevant in relation to talking about Kingdom. Both lines contain characters who were a bit crucial to that. Granted, we don't see Springer and we don't see RC, both of whom were introduced in the movie, but with it we got Cup, Blur, Scourge, and Hot Rod. But then in Kingdom we got Rodimus, Galvatron, Cyclonus, and Earth Mode Ultra Magnus. So it's interesting to actually look at them side by side. I've heard rumours about this, I don't know if this is true, but Kingdom was originally meant to be representing 86 movie in Season 3. But then at some point they decided to change it and honour Beast Wars instead. I think it might just be them wanting to branch out and do something different. Like they recently said at San Diego Comic-Con that they're looking forward to being able to branch out and cover different designs in regards to someone asking about animated. Granted, I have my own reservations about Studio Series 86 and its placement. You know, in 2021 the releases for Studio Series from live action stuff was quite few and far between. Like, granted, yeah, we did get live action Mirage, and we did get a couple of the Bumblebee figures, but in the grand scheme of things, compared to what Kingdom was putting out and Studio Series 86 was putting out, I don't know, it's a strange one. I thought it was just worth mentioning that there was a lot of overlap between these two. Obviously it's not really a thing now, considering Legacy is a bit of everything. Studio Series 86 is still going and Studio Series is a bit of a resurgence this year, all of which I'm happy about, but I just felt it was important to mention that going forward. Maybe it wasn't, who knows. Alright, getting back to Kingdom, let's talk about exclusives. Now, exclusives this time around were handled, I would say, a lot better. Pulse was readily available in most places. The exclusives were no longer characters necessary to complete in a full lineup. Target took on T-Rex and Road Rage. Walgreens got the Earth Mode Red Alert. This is what I was referring to before where I said about Earth modes for Siege characters. Hasbro Pulse's exclusive was like a continuation of the Centurion drone set. This time we had the Tricranius Beast Power set, which was essentially a orange and black fossilizer who came with blast effects of 2 different colours but of all shapes and sizes. The Battles Across Time collection featuring Earth modes of Mirage and Sideswipe, as well as the Maximals Grimlock and Skywarp. That's right, I said Maximals for those 2 guys. The Golden Disc collection told the story of a vortex opening. So you had Chapter 1, Through the Vortex, containing Puffer and Road Ranger. Chapter 2, Out the Other Side, with Jackpot and Sights. Chapter 3, Enter the Mutant Warrior. That is a lame name. With Mutant Tigertron. And Chapter 4, which was the conclusion, that also has a really whack name. The Terrorfying, containing Pterosaur. That's the one who I imagine was a bit of a controversial inclusion as an exclusive, having him be a member of the Predacon lineup in Season 1, and then putting him away like that. I got all 4 because I like really quirky recolors of characters. Same as before, we had Netflix and Select making an appearance. This was the last time I ever saw the Netflix lineup because there wasn't another Netflix show, funnily enough. It was a very small year for Select, it only had 3 releases. But yeah, like I said, they just completely took all the tension out of the air with the exclusive situation in Siege into Earthrise. You know, they've essentially said random obscure characters can go be exclusives and then you can have your main characters in the main line, which is perfect. Of course, some people still complain, but this is Transformers. People complain about anything and everything that they can. Let's talk about it being post-pandemic. Let's talk about it being after that whole ordeal. Right away, the most obvious change is they've gone back to a higher wave count that's pretty full, truth be told. You know, it's gone back to Siege levels in terms of wave, but without an excess of exclusives. It's interesting to see how they went back to normal fairly quickly. They adjusted quite well. But of course, there was problems that were raised with 2020 that I want to talk about in regards to Kingdom. First one was distribution. My blaster is the Legacy Blaster because he was actually easy to get hold of. I think there was only like 1 assortment of Kingdom Blaster and I never saw it. But I was able to get Slammer and Pipes. Wave 4 was fairly easy to get a hold of. Generally speaking, like there was no real problems trying to get a hold of anything this go around. There wasn't any waves missing. There was no gaps in between. I don't remember seeing any of the exclusives get scalped. I think the closest that they ever came was Red Alert, but even then I've seen other places stocking Red Alert for normal prices. So, you know, I can't really complain too much about distribution on this one. They fixed it. So quality control in Kingdom is a strange one. I think Kingdom was the line I had the most problems with, but they weren't major problems outside of 2, which were both yellow in cases. So the first one I've got here is Grimlock. I bought this guy secondhand from someone off Facebook Market, and right enough this guy rocked up, he came out of that box, and yeah, you can see how yellow this is. I thought, what the fuck is this? He was also covered in hair, which I didn't quite get. My dog was very interested in him, but there's something funky about a Dalmatian Dinobot with a Grimlock head. Who cares? The other one was Cyclonus. He had the same problem Soundwave did. I thought it was rank, didn't like it. Went and bought the Legacy Selects version of Cyclonus, who I prefer anyway. Jackpot's head. His head for some reason is 2 halves that haven't lined up. I think every figure was affected by this and they didn't do anything about it. The arc holds together, not the best. A lot of times you push a piece in somewhere, another bit pops out. So that is whatever. I'm sure there's an upgrade kit out there that'll fix that right up. Pterosaur's ankles are shit. Mixed feelings about Megatron. The idea of the rubbery plastic on the hard plastic frame for forming the dinosaur mode is excellent. It's just not implemented the best, but what can you do? Clear plastic came back to bite people in the ass again. I think Rodimus's spoiler was made out of it. Dinobot's waist for some reason. When you pick him up and shake him about, his whole waist just sort of hobbles. It's never really caused a stability issue or anything like that, so I can't complain too much. Cheetor's got a peg inside the back of his neck in cheetah mode that just breaks. Cool. Track/Road Rage is just a mess. The only other one jumping out is Galvatron's shoulder. This always cracked me up. Galvatron's shoulder. So the shoulders, for whatever reason, were done the wrong way around. And normally that would never pose an issue, but there's a height difference between which way you have them facing. The front of the shoulder is the detailed bit with the thin slit. The back of the shoulder is a round peg with a pin inside it, presumably keeping the shoulder together. But I think that's also to keep the tank mode tread stored in robot mode. But they came the wrong way around, so it's either you can have them with lower arms or you can have pins showing. I don't really care. If I'm that bothered, I'll get the Legacy one, and that way I can get a clean one. Because for some reason with Galvatron they decided to bring back battle damage. Just Galvatron, no one else. Just him. Rodimus's trailer. So for whatever reason, Rodimus's trailer does not close up. I can't figure out what the cause of this problem is. I've looked online about it and people are saying, oh, it's all about how you put the gun in there. Guys, I put the gun the right way in. For some reason, at one point this decided, actually, I'm not going to work properly. But yeah, Kingdom's quality control in general was just, there was nothing really to it. Like, they made a couple of good decisions, like Inferno's pegs were adjusted from hoist so they weren't as long and they fit better now than they did before. But yeah, like I said, Kingdom is the end of the War for Cybertron Trilogy. There is stuff I haven't gone over. I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a War for Cybertron video, which will go on to cover the Netflix line. We'll probably talk about Buzzworthy Bumblebee. We'll probably talk about HasLab Unicron because he's apparently part of this. So if there's anything I haven't mentioned, it'll be covered there. But it's interesting to see how this trilogy actually progressed. How we went from Siege, which was a strong A, to Earthrise, which was a B, to what I would call Kingdom is an S. Yeah, it's got its sloppy QC issues, but in the grand scheme of things, I feel Kingdom was the strongest, most consistent outing. It wasn't bound to any particular one thing. It paid homage to something that has been sorely lacking. I love the Beast Wars stuff, and it's great to see it finally get some modern recognition. Like, yeah, a couple of the figures don't quite compare to what came before it, but in the grand scheme of it, I don't care. It's great to finally have the Maximals and the Predacons. Granted, not all of them, but Legacy's continuing that. You know, we got a couple of nifty exclusives of some niche characters who haven't been seen in forever. I think the last time anyone saw Jackpot was as an animated exclusive. This was where you were allowed to have a bit of fun with it. This was where it was, what would happen if Optimus Prime met Optimus Primal? What would happen if Beast Wars Megatron met Galvatron? What would happen if the Ark was a Transformer? What would happen if we brought time travel into the mix? You know, I love this shit. I'm here for it. And I like to think that because of this, it opened the door to the other lines in Legacy. So, you know, we're getting all this cool stuff that we haven't seen in a long ass time, and I'm here for it. It's cool. And for that, quite happy to fight anyone on that. Speaking of fighting people on this, what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me that Kingdom's the best the trilogy had to offer? Do you think it's middle of the road, it's fine? Or do you think it is the worst? Do you think Kingdom is easily the weakest part of the trilogy? Please let me know. I'm always keen to hear what the fandom thinks and find out just how much of a hipster I really am. Just you guys wait until I get onto my Transformers as a Sandbox video. That'll be an interesting one. I also have a couple of other things I want to talk about other than Transformers, but I don't know when I'm going to get to them. But if you've made it this far, thank you very much for your time. It's greatly appreciated. You guys are always welcome around here. I'm always happy to host. If you guys have any suggestions for any videos you think I should do in the future, please let me know. But in the meantime, hope you have a great day and a wonderful evening.